Connor Bedard.
Well, number one, you guys know, the kind of person that he is and the kind of passion and work ethic he's got. But it's fun just sitting at the stall with him, just even for a few minutes, and just talking hockey with him, because he's number one, he watches hockey. He's a fan of hockey. I was asking him about his stick change, because he'd been using Bauer in the Western Hockey League, and so he switched to Sherwood, and he's one of only a few guys. I think there's 7 or 8 guys probably that are on contracts with Sherwood sticks and gloves. And I was asking him why, and he said the tests were really good. No change in velocity, no change in flex, and all that kind of stuff. So, and he said with only so few players using Sherwoods too, he's like, if there's something I need tweaked, I mean, I'm right there, and getting great service. So he was excited about that. He talks about guys, the way guys can defend, or guys that play against him, and he has a great feel for the game. You can tell that he watches games all the time. And I was asking about Paul Stastny, just as an example. And Paul just retired, and I said, he had about 115 flex, shorter stick, good on faceoffs. And I said, that's probably a difference, isn't it? About faceoffs, because Connor's, he uses a long stick for a shorter player, and it's a lot whippier. And
so, is it about a 75 flex?
It's about a 71 flex.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would bet that it's even more whippier than that, because it's longer. And I would say this, we were talking about Stastny's, because Stastny used a Sherwood as well, and grew up with his dad's old Sherwood PMPs, I think. But his was shorter, and it was 115, so that probably made it 125. But Connor Bedard said, he goes, yep, but man, could he ever pass the puck? He could make a play. And I said, yeah, he didn't have much of a one-timer, didn't really rely on that. And he said, no, but he could pass the puck. And so, there's a player that's, a lot older than Connor, and he knows enough about a guy like Stastny. So I've really enjoyed it. Darren, you saw him firsthand in Vegas. He electrifies the crowd. The shot is something else, but he's also, he cares. He wants to win. He's competitive. He wants to stay on the ice for about 4 minutes. He doesn't want to get off the ice. So he's got a tank that just won't go away, which is great. Love to see that.
What I loved about him was, and I watched this very closely, he doesn't try to force it. He jumps on it and he generates plays, but he doesn't try to make it happen when it's not there, knowing that all the eyeballs are on, which could easily happen. As for the sitting in the stall, he's young enough where he still wants to talk hockey. Most guys you go to, they want to talk about other things. They don't want to talk hockey because they've done it all. He's still, you can relate to him in that regard. And being able to lean or watch Paul Stastny, when he played, Paul was in Vegas, he was my go-to guy to explain things. Like if I needed something broken down, I just slide off to the side with him and go, walk me through this. Like he's a brilliant mind. And if Connor's on that wavelength, like that gives you even more confidence that things are going great.
Yeah. The other thing too, John,
does he
I'll throw one more because I'll forget. Okay. The one other thing is, as these games have gone along, the physicality, bumping players off pucks. I'm not afraid to initiate that as the first forechecker in. I mean, if Luke wants an aggressive F1 and he happens to be the F1, he's not just, he's not doing flybys. So that part to me is good. He's sturdy. He's not okay. He's 5'10". He's built. He's got a great hockey frame. He's strong. So he's not flimsy. He's not frail whatsoever. So now he's all of a sudden he's starting to bump a few guys. So I think that's been another thing I should add on there, because I don't think people see that part of his game.
Did you see him on the ice at the end of practice with Corey Perry? I only saw the clip on social media, and Perry just gave him like 3-foot one-timers going, and the two of them working together. And boy, that's wonderful to see.
Yeah, it sure is.
Does he remind you of?
Practice.
Who does he remind you of? I mean, is he a combination of Crosby and McDavid? Is he Sid? Where does he fit into all this pantheon?
Yeah, I don't see any Connor McDavid in him. I mean, I think that's just a different way of skating, a different body shape. I mean, I think Connor McDavid's a gazelle. I mean, Connor Bedard, if you go back in time, I mean, he's got a little Joe Sakic in him. I think we forget about how Joe, Joe could carry the puck to the neutral zone, and then he could step on a 1-on-2 and snap one by the goalie. I remember firsthand when he was a 19-year-old playing in the Chicago Stadium. I think he wore number 88 for Quebec, and they told me before the game that this kid can really shoot the puck. And I said, yeah, sure thing. Bang, right under the bar and in the net. So, is there some Yzerman in him where he's, Steve was a scorer and a playmaker. So I mean, if you look at Connor last year, what was it, 71 goals, 71 assists, or 70? So I mean, if it's there, he'll shoot it. I actually think that he could be shooting the puck a little bit more this year. There's been many times where I'm like, man, that's a 2-on-1 where he's looking for the pass, and I know he's a conscientious player, and he thinks if that's the best avenue, then that's what it is. But man, if I'm the goalie and he's got the puck on his stick, I don't want him shooting ever, because he can blow it right by you. That shot it's incredible to see him. It whistles off his blade, so it's hard to explain. It's not Ovechkin. I mean, it's different, and that's why I keep thinking of Joe Sakic's wrist shot and Connor Bedard's wrist shot, and I think there are some similarities there.
Well, Joe Sakic, the iron-on 88 from those Quebec Nordique sweaters. They weren't the sewn-on numbers. They were on the shoulders. They were the iron-on, the steam numbers on those shoulders. I just remember this scrawny guy who was a first-round pick, and the players always tell you, and you don't have a video like you have now. And there's probably Murray Bannerman told me to watch out. He can really shoot it or something like that. I mean, I'll let him go high glove, and I'll just pick it off. And he beat me high glove in one of those classic 5-5 hockey games in the old Chicago Stadium that I was a part of. I love many of those things.
I love those games. I love watching games at the stadium. You touched on Luke Hughes. Brother Jack didn't play. Quinn has had a great start, but can you imagine being, their parents and saying 3 guys under the age of 25 having this kind of impact in the National Hockey League this soon?
What a job the parents have done, huh? I mean, just incredible. And I'll take it a step further.
And they're great kids. They're great kids.
They're great kids. And I don't have to sit here and analyze hockey for these. Everybody watches them play. I'm going to analyze one thing. You mentioned good kids. This summer, Joe Kocur, obviously everybody knows Joe Kocur, one of the toughest to ever play in the NHL. But he has something, Kocur for Kids. He does a charity thing at Prestwick Village Golf Club, right? The club that I'm a member at, and so is Joey. And he invites NHL players, but he never banks on them coming. And last year, several NHL players were invited and didn't show up at the last second. And you know what that's like, guys. I mean, it's a bad move. Well, this year he got a hold of one of the Hughes. It might have been David Perron. It might have been Robbie Fabry, and a couple of other guys. And next thing you know, it's like, no, Jack's going to come. Wow. Okay, Jack's going to come. Jack's going to bring Luke. Wow. Jack's going to bring Cole Caulfield. He went. Adam Fintelli. They brought that whole group of players and friends, and they did not just only show up. They showed up, they hung around, they talked to people. They didn't just bolt right afterwards. So when I think of those boys and I think of Jack, Quinn didn't show up because I think he got hurt in the morning skate or the skate the day before. So he just couldn't hit the golf ball. So he told them that he couldn't be there. But man, they were so great. And I put a lot of stock into that. As you guys know, we've been around the game a long time, but when someone says I'm going to be there, and not only just be there, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to spend a lot of time for this charity, they just did. So they won me over right there and then. Besides their great hockey play and the people that they are, that won me over.
Jack is, and I had him on the podcast, The Chirp. I don't know whether you guys have heard of that, but Jack was on there a couple of weeks ago, and
that's award-winning show.
We're promoting every podcast except this one. God, it's unbelievable.
No, Jack's the most comfortable person I've ever seen in his own skin. He is a superstar, but he doesn't want to be anybody else. He is just him. He is pure, and he is just true to himself. And I love that kid.
I don't want to name drop, because Robert De Niro told me never to name drop. But Wayne Douglas Gretzky did call the other day, and we were talking about Jack Hughes, and I just said, who do you think he reminds you of? And we've talked about, like he said, maybe the vision of Wayne, the way you can see plays behind him. And I said, what about Denny Savard? And he said, he's got a little savvy in him for sure. And, because they could turn on a dime and you could hardly hear their skates. It was just like, and then he goes, what about Mike Modano too? Like a combination of those guys. And I'm like, whoa, you know what? Typical of Gretz. He brought a name out there that, Mike was an unbelievable hockey player.
Mike is a bigger body though, right?
Bigger body, bigger stride, maybe not as quick in tight spaces. But there are elements of his game where you go, yeah, there's something there too. So, Yeah, I mean, we did, last night the Hawks hosted the Devils, and you get ready for that game, and you're like, oh, no Hughes, no Heischer, but yet they're a deep hockey team. So, even without them for a short amount of time, they're going to be just fine. But man, when he's playing, my eyeballs are on Hughes the whole way. He's going to be the first Devil for 50 goals and the first Devil for 100 points. No questions asked.